All right, for this one, I'm gonna have my light source on this side, going this way. And so that means that the shadows, the cast shadows and everything are gonna be on this side. So for a cylinder, we're going to put in the highlights first. So I'm going to erase this corner up here where the light source is coming from. I am going to erase this top part of the cylinder up here. And I'm also going to go ahead and put in the highlight that would be on the edge of my cylinder. And notice I put it a little bit further out. That's because I'm going to be blending the dark value into the light value and have a little bit of value coming in on that side. I'm also going to go ahead and erase right underneath the horizon line and block that out. A lot of times when I'm drawing, I like to put my highlights in first. That way I can kind of think through where the light will be, and then you can put in the shadows, which is what I'm going to do here. So the shadows on this one are going to be on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and put the shadows in, and then I'm going to meet the values so that I have a range of values from light to dark. Remember, we're trying to get rid of those lines that we drew. So for the cylinder and the cone and the sphere, think about those cross contours and how the form is going from a rounded, right? A rounded cross contour. And remember that cross contours are those lines that we would draw to show that the form is round. So same thing here with the values, and when we're putting these values down, I'm going to put them down using the idea of cross contours. So I'm basically going to shape them around the shape of the form. So with my pencil, my marks, they can help with that illusion of form. So I'm going to have the darkest value on the very, very end of the cylinder. And then as I go toward it and go from the 4 to a 3 value, I'm going to use those cross contours. Right up here, I'm going to use kind of a tip of my pencil to show this is a very, very dark shadow, and push this into like a 6 or a 7 value, pretty dark. So I'm using a little bit more pressure. But I don't want to just use an outline. I want to put down value. Okay, so from here, I'm also going to have a little bit of a shadow on the top of my cylinder as well. I'm just going to put a little bit of value in, and notice that I'm leaving a little bit of a highlight in between that dark 9 value and the middle value that I put on top of the cylinder. When you blend this out, continue to use the idea of cross contours, but now you're going to be going from the lightest to the darkest. So I'm going to start over here where I put the highlight in and blend the graphite that I started into that highlight, so the highlight's not so stark anymore. And then I'm going to blend into these middle values on my cylinder, and then go towards the dark ones. That way my values, my cylinder is round, my values are gradually changing from lighter to darker, and the form is rounded. If you get something like that, where there's a little mark of darkness, that's where you just use your eraser, pull that value out, and then re-blend it back in. So again, that's that push and pull that you're going to need. Now, more of this is going to be happening on the outside of the form, in the background, and on the surface. The cast shadow. The cast shadow is the shape of the actual form. So I'm going to go from that corner here and there. Because of where the light source is, it's going to be away from the light source. Because remember, there's no light over here. And I'm going to start with the dark value. I'm going to put a little bit of a highlight in there, in between the form and the cast shadow. And over here, where there'd be absolutely no light, I'm going to go like a 9 or an 8 value, and then blend that outwards so that it goes away as it goes back towards the light. And then, of course, we'd blend it to make it smooth again. For the surface, over here where it's lightest, you want it to contrast, but get rid of that line. So I need to erase some more on the inside here to get rid of that line. And then blend this value from the lightest, where the highlight would be, from the light source, right up next to my cylinder. It's too dark. Back on this side, I might make this a little bit darker, just a little bit. All right, so there's the bottom surface. Mostly happy with that. Now for the top, if your bottom, the surface, is darker, this could be lighter, or it could be really, really dark. I think I'm going to go very, very dark. So I'm going to put down pretty dark value around the bottom surface down here. And on this side, because of where that light source is, I'm going to make this about a 4 or a 5. So it'll be a bit darker than my last one. And on this top corner, I'm going to put quite a bit of value in. So I'm going to make sure that my blending tool is clean. I'm going to start on the lighter side and start to pick up the value that I left on the darker side, and blend that together so that I can get rid of those lines from where I drew the form. And I want it to have those gradual changes in value from light to dark. So I'm going to make sure that I do the lighter values first, and then go toward where I put all that dark value in. And I put down a whole lot more graphite. See, over here it's getting much, much darker. So I'm lightening the surface so there's contrast between it and the background. All right, so you might notice I put a highlight in over there. I'm going to blend that back out, and just to make my form a little bit lighter so that I can work with the darkness that I have in the background. So I'm just going to make my cylinder a little bit lighter on the side. And just adjust that value so that it comes out a little bit more. And I'll put a darker value right up against this edge. It's a little bit more natural. And there you have our cylinder.